All right, so welcome to the first KarmaKast. I'm your host. My name is Pankaj Sharma, president of SNS Properties Investment, creator of Sharma's Karma. Today I have a very special guest with me, Joe Stoltz.
Hi, man.
Joe, you came up with the name Sharma's Karma.
I did. And
when you first told me about it, I'm like, I just pushed it to the side. And then later on, I couldn't find nothing else.
I knew you settled to it sooner or later, but
okay. So Joe, how'd you even come up with the name Sharma's Karma? First of all,
I think it was getting to know you and your family, and did it take long to find out that you guys have a lot of good karma, from all the good things that you guys do. Where I thought even more it was clever because nowadays people associate karma with like bad karma all the time.
That's true.
What goes around comes around. So furthermore, just once people click on Sharma's Karma, after watching maybe the first two, or depending on how much they pay attention, to realize it's all about the good karma and a positive podcast, a positive following. So
nice. Well, it really applies because my father's always called himself a karma yogi. And karma is about karam, action, It's about doing it. And what you put out there, you get back. What goes around comes around. So, yeah, you put out good, you get back good. So real estate, I wanted to ask you, how'd you get into real estate?
When I was in school, the entire time I was in school, I was so worried about the money I was spending in school. I was trying to figure out a way to recoup that. And
when's this? What age? When you say school? What
out of high school, going into college.
Okay.
So this was around 2008, 2009. My family had a small rental portfolio, 15 units in the city we grew up in, Reading. And I saw, after years of trial and error from my parents' behalf, of the type of money you could start making if you were able to learn from your mistakes and do it right. So while I was in high school, I just I had this admiration to get into real estate. Just like how a lot of young real estate agents are, they see dollar signs, and so I got my license. And
so was the money that really pulled you initially?
Initially, it was. I'm not gonna lie. It was the perception that was put out there about, once you get this real estate license, as long as you can be a likable human being, you're going to make money, which is not the case. There's networking, there's education that's involved, there's a journey a person has to go through in order to become successful in an industry, right. Long-term success. So right out of school, I struggled a little bit with my first few deals, finding deals, closing them, and then I ended up, my first two deals were one was a short sale and the second one was a double short sale. And some people were like, what's, a double short sale? What is that? And that was basically a seller that bought a house that was already underwater, and they became underwater very early into the mortgage, and they just needed help. So I barely made any money on the deal, but I learned a lot, and that knowledge was more valuable than any commission check I could have got. Fast forward a few years, I was still independent contractor. I got into property management. I worked with a few companies that I just saw how much better they could do, but they were more worried about the money and not the good karma. They didn't care about all the negative things they put out. They didn't care about all the money they were essentially stealing from people, So I was like, you know what? If I can't do my own thing yet, I'll at least, help people establish a property management division or company that is doing it for the right reasons.
Is that when you found us, or?
About 2 years after that, I launched 2 property management divisions with reputable real estate companies, and then that's when that's when you found me, or I found you.
We found each other.
Right? Yeah. So that was kind of my story until I met you guys.
So were you into multifamily before? I know that's what you were doing now for the last 8-9 months, but were you?
So it was more like mixed use, and I did have multi-units, But to me, like multifamily was always like apartments and condos and things like that, communities.
Right.
So
you got with us. You started getting into the software, you know, helping me with that,
Sure.
with that kind of stuff, the accounting aspect of things, which I really needed that help at the time. You know, I was, prior to meeting you, honestly, I was scratching my head for a couple of months thinking, man, I need to get with this software stuff, and I needed like, but I was just so busy in the day-to-day stuff that I didn't have the time to dedicate myself, focus on it, you know. I didn't have the willingness to it, to be honest with you. And I was like, I need somebody. Then all of a sudden you showed up for another interview for something else. And I was like, dude, this is not you.
Right.
How was that? What was I saying to you that day?
Yo, that,
What did
so when I came into the interview, I sat down. I remember you came in, and the lady that was retiring at the time was like, the owner will be in. And I just remember having like sweaty, palmy hands. And I'm like, all right, you know. And I was interviewing for a position that I knew I could tackle and be a beast at. Okay. And so I was very excited to meet you, to tell you that. But then for you to come in and just instantly be like, man, you have too much energy, like, and you could be utilized in so many other places. And I was like, you know, that was music to my ears, because I always wanted people to see that. I
mean, that place, like that office, didn't have a lot of, and like there wasn't a whole lot going on there. I mean, you know, it was it didn't have the action that I knew that would sustain you for a long period of time.
Right.
I knew that you'd get bored.
And that intuition, after just meeting me after a few minutes, was not only impressive, but like I was like, I like this guy. You know, I want to do something with him, and that's why I did not leave that office until I got some type of business relationship established.
Really? So you said that today. I didn't know that. You said today, like, you were not going to leave until you got a job.
I wasn't, because I wasn't going to, and it wasn't out of desperation for the job. Like what I told you at the interview was, my kids are now in school. My wife's home with my son. I'm now ready to get back into that 8-hour routine. And I wanted to just get back into not just having a routine, but also putting out my knowledge and what I learned in the previous 4 years. And I wanted to not only help someone become successful, but I wanted to help myself too.
Right.
So when you said that I had too much, you see me doing a lot of other things, I was like, okay, well, what can I do for you? And then you said about software. What do you know about software? And this is where it gets super crazy, because the previous 3 years, I did nothing but deal with the software that you were trying to implement to your portfolio.
Right. That was crazy.
And right there, once again, good karma. Us meeting each other, you needing that help. I inadvertently had that experience, you know.
And I didn't know how you were going to be at it, so we kind of played it by ear. We just kind of like dipped our toe a little bit at a time, you know, kind of like gave you freedom.
Sure.
To kind of run your own hours and kind of play. It wasn't like official job even at the time, right?
Right. No, it wasn't.
We just kind of, and then things just sped up from that point on. Like, we learned Appfolio, we got in there, we started doing the billing through it, and then after that, just
yeah. Like hindsight, it definitely did. Hindsight is like, because by all means, with Appfolio, I was more in the software we use. I was more in touch with the front end of things.
So we had like a month or two to get things rolling with the software, with the billing through Appfolio, and then all of a sudden we had this big deal on the table, right?
Yes.
And I think that deal was I had already signed that deal before you came into the picture.
You were telling me about the deal like the first month that I started with you.
All right, because I know I signed the deal in February. You came in around April, I think.
Yep.
That's right. And I thought we were going to close in May, at the end of May. And then went to June.
Right.
We didn't close till finally July. And that was a heck of a time just even getting to closing on that deal. The stuff that we would go through with all the emails. And then you really, the reason why I wanted to also start with you in the podcast, because we had such a journey going on with this whole Harrisburg deal. Right? 828 apartments, $5 million deal. It was originally $551 million, by the way. We got it knocked down to $1 million. And I wanted to shoot for 49, but my partner at that time was like, wanted to just, you know, he was willing to take it at that level. So, but before us even taking over the property and closing the deal, we started investigating the company. Mm-hmm. And the guy was really looking to close fast. He wasn't even letting us get in a thorough due diligence. He wanted to sign the deal. We said yes to the deal finally, you know, and But then we started finding out a lot of things. We already knew walking in from the little bit of due diligence we did before signing the deal that there was a lot going on with this guy. But then you came on, you were like my little investigator.
Right.
What were you finding out?
Well, first and foremost, it was the not paying bills, just simply not paying anything. Vendors, utilities, didn't matter. What
was the gas bill at the one place?
Oh my goodness.
40 grand.
Yeah, the one was 40 grand. We had a $75,000 in arrears. I think just to sum it all up, it was over $250,000 that he didn't pay. Not just in utility bills, but across all the vendors.
Yeah, and then all
the vendors that
all right, so I'm going to fast forward now. I'm going to fast forward from doing the deal, going through, getting through finally closing, and then finally closing the deal. We hit the ground running. We take over the deal, and 5 different properties, right?
Yep.
Let's go back to those days, because now it seems like it was a long time ago, even though it was it's only been 4 or 5 months.
It seems like it was last year, yeah.
So we take over. What was the first crisis? I don't know. There was crisis after crisis, but what was the first major crisis? Do you remember?
And in my memory was transferring utility accounts and getting not only that, but all the vendors that we were going to continue to use that the previous ownership used, to let them and have them understand that where we bought the property, we did not buy the debt. And that was my motto for a good 3 months. And some vendors I had to tell that multiple times to in a very polite fashion because they didn't understand, and I get it. But oh my goodness, between that and troubleshooting the previous staff that the old owner had, that was a whole nother nightmare.
Right.
And
but the main thing, remember, for me was like the shutoffs. Dealing was like we were putting out fire after fire.
Oh yeah.
And like
sure.
This building, they're gonna shut off the gas on the high-rise building. They're gonna shut off the water here. They're gonna shut off the electric. We lost the phone service in the high-rise building. You know, 273 units. There's no phone. And without the phone there's no anything, because the monitoring service, the fire alarm service, everything goes to a phone line.
Right. And exactly. It's not just communications. It is alarms, securities, everything that those properties need to operate are based off those phone lines.
And the manager got me the Comcast guy and said, we figured that if we just signed with Comcast, maybe we could get everything going. And that even made it worse.
That did make it worse.
Right?
Comcast made everything worse. Yes, they did. Sorry, Comcast, but you did.
So it was like jumping from the pan into the fire.
Right.
And then it's like getting out of the fire, going back into the pan, having to pay the people that were like, no, we're not turning your phones back on until you pay us this bill.
Right.
It's not our bill. We bought the property. Right. It's not our bill.
Those were the days.
But they were the only one of the few people that could hang it over us. Luckily, a lot of the other ones, we didn't have to buy all the debt on the property, but they were one of the few people that they had. We didn't even know this, but they had, and originally part of the deal was that this guy was going to clear his debts, but that never happened.
No.
The only debts that he really cleared were the title debts, which was water, trash, and that's it, I think. And
even that had a delay on it because we're still dealing with the water.
Yeah. They even reversed the water charge, and it's been an incredible ride. So now. But how was it at that time when it was it felt like it was nerve-wracking, it was crazy, but it also felt exciting at the same time.
Right. So I would say at that time, we knew just from experience in life that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but we could barely see that light, But I knew every day that going forward, you can almost anticipate who was going to call that day and how long you're going to be on the phone with them, how many times you're going to have to reiterate yourself. But I knew at the point of once we had bills coming to us in SNS properties, once we had utilities coming to us labeled SNS properties and had in care of my name, I was like, I know we're on the right track.
Yeah, it took a little while.
It took a while.
To get things to flow over.
Right, but we stayed
but
strong.
The drama was so deep and the drama was so constant that it was like, yo, we got to put on I'm thinking in my head, this is too freaking, you can't make this stuff up kind of stuff that it's just like, we got to document this,
Sure.
We got to this is a reality TV show.
For sure. Well, it took a lot of courage honestly, and confidence to even, like you said in the beginning, to even think about undergoing the process.
Right. And then we actually go ahead. Get some media stuff going on, got these guys working with us. And then all of a sudden things just things just chill out all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Which we're thankful for.
Absolutely.
But it's not as, I'm sure, the excitement is going to be there, but it's just not, and I like it that way. Honestly, I like it when things are kind of, systems are running in place and there's not constant fires to put out. Always in this business, I've been in this business for 20 years, and there's always something going to happen. There's always some kind of, this building, the boiler's down, the heat's out, or whatever. There's always going to be some kind of crisis to deal with.
Sure.
And we get through them, but they were just back to back to back, nonstop.
Absolutely.
And a lot of it was like, the shut-off notices with the companies, and then them coming in and shutting off the hot water, the gas, and shut off all the hot water for a whole, complex practically. And they weren't even supposed to shut them off.
They weren't, because they're going off the previous owner's bill. Yeah. So really we added over 120 utility accounts to our name. Our vendor list went from, in the time that I started, not necessarily Harrisburg, but in the time that I started, our vendor list went from 27 to over 130. We have the growth is just unprecedented, and where things are settling down now, I know there's a part in your head you're itching for the next deal. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just me, but like I know we can continue to take care of Harrisburg, because now things are almost smooth sailing. I don't want to jinx anything, but I'm just excited to, as much as of how crazy and how chaotic it was, I'm excited for it to happen. Not necessarily that happened again, but I'm excited for that excitement again.
Yeah. You can get it becomes like it's like an addictive cycle, and I was kind of feeling like once it was starting to fade down, I was kind of like almost like, where's it at? Where's the action at? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I got to do my next deal now. All of a sudden, I got to jump again. But now when I'm looking at the market and I'm seeing things the way they are, and I came across this one guy's video, and he just says, rack them and stack them. It's time to rack and stack. And it made so much sense to me that's what the best thing for us to do is to fortify that the market is at the height right now, and we just don't pay those kind of prices anyway. When we buy things, we got to buy it right. That's one thing with real estate. As an investor, you got to buy it right, and if they're not selling it right, you can't buy it right. Sure. People. And what's happening is, there's so much equity money and all this money coming into the market because they need some place to put their money, and it's driving the prices up. Construction's going on all over the place, and things are booming. But what happened in 2007? Once the thing dropped out, all of a sudden construction ceased. And then so it's like there's cycles, and a lot of people now who have never seen a cycle. That's why my father said on that one video, he's like, people are going to pay. The ones that are paying the high prices later on, they're going to see,
right. Oh, he's a very smart man. Yeah.
Yeah. He's been doing it for 40 years. So like, I'm grateful that I've had that, to have that experience with us,
sure.
Because he's seen the Michael come up, come down. And, right now we can just chill and fortify and get ready so that when the next big deal comes, we're able to jump. Right. But when I'm not itching for it anymore, I've kind of chilled down. I've kind of relaxed, and I got enough work on my hands, to solidify, stabilize the properties in Harrisburg. And, then the time is right. You always say, one thing you always say that I hear you say a lot, that things happen for a reason.
That's right.
You're a big believer in that.
I am. Absolutely.
Where'd that come from?
That just came from, honestly, just the way my life has panned out. I always look for the silver lining in things. Excuse me. And I always say, especially ever since I had my children, I say that to them all the time too. Even though some days seem stressful, some days seem terrible, you always have that mentality that the next day is going to be that much better. So even the worst things that seem, horrendous that may happen to people, they happen for a reason. there's so much to that commonly used saying that is super meaningful to me, and not just for life experiences, but just overall, like how I witness other people's lives and the things I see.
Right now, another thing with you is like you're like very disciplined. You do the OMAD diet, right?
I do, yes.
1 meal a day.
Right. I got 2 hour eating
And
window.
what time do you eat usually now these days?
Now it's closer to like 9.
9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I eat from like 9 to like 10:30, and then I work out, and then I go to sleep.
You work out after you eat?
I do. So if
you don't like
no, because
I don't know if we should get into this. Sounds crazy.
Yeah, my body's just at a point at that point where if I go right into working out, I don't have anything for fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So eating, I get that real huge burst of energy, and I
So
feel
it's not like a lion. A lion goes a long time without eating, but once they eat, they like lay down. Like they don't get up.
Right.
They don't get up.
Yeah.
But you have the energy afterwards to work
do.
out.
I do. And I think it's just at nighttime. And now, granted, it's not a long workout session, but it's you know.
And you work out every night?
I do. Yes. I do bodyweight workouts.
And how long after you eat?
So after I eat, I chug a bottle of water, and then I'll work out. So I go right into it. But I start with dumbbells. I kind of let my body digest with that, and then I go into
Now you know
push-ups.
that, and this is the thing, that when you chug a bottle of water after you eat, you've just weakened the enzymes that break up your food.
I did not
your
know
body's
that.
saliva, the enzymes in your saliva are breaking up your food that you just ate.
Okay.
And by you chugging a big thing of water, that's what I've always, heard, that's weakening those enzymes. So then it makes it harder for them to do their job.
Okay.
Because you're like diluting their strength.
Maybe I'll swap that then. Swap that order.
And so that's why some people they don't drink when they eat,
Yeah.
or they drink like a half hour, 15 minutes before they eat.
Okay.
And then they'll wait at least a half hour or something, depending on the afterwards in order. But if you chug it immediately, it's like all the enzymes that are going to break down your food are now weakened.
Well, the more you know then.
So
yeah.
I don't know. But I'm glad to hear that. And that's another thing. You're really an inspiration to me with your strict discipline. And I'm making a commitment to. I've been watching these videos and I've been seeing like, wow, dude, your double chin sticking out. If you saw a picture of me 2 years ago and a picture of me now, there's like there's like two different people.
Right.
So
so now journey, man,
I've been trying. I've been doing my best, but I've been trying. But like I've just been, running back and forth with the Harrisburg, which is like an hour and a half drive.
Sure.
I just want to come home and veg a lot of times, eat and just like I'm constantly working though now these days, also doing a lot of like just stuff on the computer and stuff like that. So.
Right.
But it's right. It's definitely time for me to make a change in that area, and I'm committed to doing that. And it's time with like the end of this year too. So I didn't time it that way, but it is a new year, a new cycle coming upon us.
Right.
What would you like to see for yourself in this new year?
That's a great question. There's a lot of things I'd like to see. One, I think I really want to work on not overthinking so much.
Great. Great. I always bust on you about that.
Yeah. Also kind of simplifying my way of explaining things. I feel like sometimes I go into too much depth and might confuse people.
Yeah, I always be like, look, I just want the baby. Don't give me all the labor.
Right.
Tell me the bottom line, Joe.
Right. So just allow my perception and the way I explain things do the work, as opposed to allowing all my words.
Now, were you aware of that before you came working with us? About the whole overthinking and over-explanation, or something that you've become grossly aware of as a result of being around us?
It's another reason why I love working with you directly, because you call it as you see it. You know what I mean? But you do it in a respectful manner where it's not like...
Sometimes I don't. Well, not with you maybe, but with other people sometimes they... Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No problem. But those are definitely the things that... two things off the top of my head that I would definitely like to work on.
So, you got any questions for me? I always... whenever I interview somebody, I always like, well, you got any questions for me?
Yeah. My questions for you normally happen 5 minutes after I walk away from you. So, well, I guess we'll leave it at that. Maybe in 5 minutes, I'll probably have a few questions for you.
Well, I just want to, honest to God, I wrote on your card, you changed my life, because you did. You know, you coming into my life at the right time, you know, for the right reasons. You know, we're like, I mean, now more and more, we're not, you know, we don't spend as much time because I'm always going to Harrisburg. You're here. But those beginning days, you know, that time when we're always running to Harrisburg, putting out fires, you know, getting this, you know, I'm able to vent with you with all the different struggles that I deal with the people and all that kind of stuff. And you know, we've had quite a bit of a journey just in the 8-9 months you've been here with us. And
right.
We've then we went to California.
Yeah.
You know, we did that trip. Went to the Appfolio conference in California, and you're like my homie.
My man, right back at you, man. Right back at you, man.
Yeah, you know. So it's good to have you.
Right back at you, man.
We'll continue to grow this thing and see where it goes.
Absolutely, let's do it. You tell me where you need me, and I'll do it, man.
That's what I love about you. Thanks.
Absolutely, thank you, man.